Okay, today guys, we're covering slope-intercept form. We're diving into it a little bit deeper. And I want to remind you guys, this is slope-intercept form. You've seen it over and over for, at least for the past year, you've probably seen a lot of this, okay? Y equals mx plus b. We learned previously about x and y. We learned Dixie and all the different things, all the vocabulary terms that talk about x. We learned Roy D and all the different vocabulary things that are talking about y. But today, we're not focused on Dixie or Roy D. We're focused on the other two parts of the slope-intercept equation, and that is the m and the b. We've briefly talked to you about this. We call the b the beginning value because it's what happens in a beginning of a situation. We also call it the one-time number, and here I've put a big number 1 right on top of the letter b because it's something that only happens once, okay? And we're going to see examples of that in some word problems, all right? The m is something that happens over and over in a situation. So just like you make the over and over gesture when you're making the m, it is something in a word problem situation that's happening over and over, okay? An example might be you go to the zoo, you pay $10 to get in, and then you pay $3 for each soft drink you buy. Okay, $10 to get in, that only happens once. But for each soft drink, you have to pay the $3 over and over. That would be the m. So my equation would be y equals 3x plus 10. I could plug in how many soft drinks I buy, do the math, and that would tell me how much I paid at the zoo that day. Okay? So another reminder about learning how to P. We've all learned how to P. We know the words per, each, and every. Help us find the m number. Okay? They help us find that value. So in a word problem, if you see one of these words, there's a good chance that the number closest to that word is the m. Even if you don't see the word, if you see where that word would make sense to be, then there's a good chance that number is still the m number. And we're going to see that in a minute. So right now we're going to do some examples of just finding the m and the b in the equation itself. Okay? So we have y equals mx plus b over and over again. We're literally just going to pull out the m and the b. Okay, now it may not always be in this order. It may be in this order. Y equals b plus mx. The point is the slope, the m value, is always with my x variable. The b value is always by itself. All right? So for number 1, y equals 3x minus 5. My m value is 3. And my b value is the minus or negative 5. You see, that's the one tricky thing you got to watch for. By default, it's plus b. So if there's not a plus sign there, if it's a minus sign, that means that 5 is a negative value. It basically means it's 3x plus a negative 5. That's kind of what they're saying there. So the b value is a negative 5. Okay? Number 2, my m is what? What is it? I'm pointing to it. What is that?
Minus 5.
Minus 5. What's my b?
13.
13. And it's positive, so we're good. Number 3, we have, there's no number there. What in the world?
It's just a negative
Minus 1.
It's a minus 1. Remember, if there's no number with your variable, and that's anywhere, and especially here, that's just an invisible 1. So that's a negative 1 in front of my x. And my b value also happens to be a negative 1 as well. Okay, number 4. Y equals negative 11x plus 6. What's my m value? What's the number with the x?
Negative 11.
Negative 11. What's the number by itself?
6.
Y equals negative 5. Let's go back to that one. Let's skip to number 6 real quick. Y equals half x plus 6. What's the number with the x? The half. That's my m value. The number by itself is 6. Now what's going on with number 5? Are we missing some information? Now obviously the negative 5 can only be the m or the b. It can't be both.
You need the m.
So I just said something that's really an important clue here. What do we know about the m? It's always
Repeat.
with what? It's always with the x. Is this negative 5 with the x? It's not. So guess what? Is this the M or the B?
B.
It's the B, and that's what you got to remember. This is the B.
With zero.
So what in the world is going on with the M?
Yeah.
It's 0. And what kind of line is this? If you graph this in the calculator,
Would you put
it would be a horizontal line like that. In fact, I think this is it from the last. Yeah, that's y equals negative 5. That is the graph right there. Remember, a 0 slope is a horizontal line. And that's what that would be. So basically what this is, if you had to write it all out, it would be y equals 0x minus 5. But we know that 0 times anything goes away. So you end up with the y equals negative 5. Make sense? So if you're ever in doubt and you're able to put it in the calculator screen, just do that and you can take a look at it. And that'll give you an idea. When I go to the table, take a look at what the table looks like. It's negative 5 all the way down. Because the y value is always negative 5. That makes it the horizontal line. It's not ever going up or downwards. It's always on negative 5 on my y value. Okay, so what we did just now, we had 6 equations, and we just pulled out the m value and the b value. You're going to have some of that on the homework. Pretty straightforward. What do you got to watch out for? You got to watch out for if it's a minus b, then you got to make sure that you put your b as a negative. Okay? If there's not a number with the x, it's probably a 1 or maybe a negative 1 like this one. Those are the things you got to look for. So the middle section we're going to next is the exact opposite of what we just did. Now they're giving us the m and the b, and we're going to write the y equals mx plus b equation. Okay? So here, it's going to be y equals something x and then plus or minus something. There's my m. So y equals negative 1x. Is it going to be plus 3 or minus 3?
plus 3?
Yeah, because that guy's positive. Good job. Next one.
It would,
Y equals what?
4x.
4x. You got it.
Minus 2.
And then minus 2. Now you could put plus negative 2 or you could put just regular minus 2. And either one's technically correct, but this is a little bit less to write down. So you'll probably see it that way more often. Y equals 4x minus 2. That little negative 2, it just became a minus sign in the equation. Okay, how about number 9? What are we going to have?
Negative 5x minus 8.
That's exactly right. Okay. Marcel, pick somebody. Because you've been getting them all. I think you got a handle on this.
Finished it. This is easy.
So who else wants to go besides Marcel or Alejandro? Okay, then do the next one.
0.25x plus 6.
Okay. Okay, I should pick Lauren? Okay, Lauren. Lauren, do the next one. Well, if he wasn't getting them all right, I wouldn't let him pick on you, but he's getting them all right. Okay. Y equals what? What goes with the x?
0x minus 11.
That's pretty much right.
Wait, you can just
Now-
put minus 11, right?
You could, yeah, since it's 0. Now, this isn't wrong, and she could just go with that. That's totally fine. But 0 times anything, it goes away. It's kind of like number 3 on the top. No, number 5 on the top. It's basically this, but you simplify it. So the simplified version will be y equals minus 11. Is that a vertical line or a horizontal line?
Horizontal.
It's going to be horizontal.
Can I read number?
Go ahead, please. That'd be awesome.
1x plus 3.
Y equals 1x plus
3
3/8. And could the 1 be invisible? Certainly. Does it have to be? No. But just know that this is the same as writing the 1. Y equals 1x plus 3/8 or y equals x plus 3/8. They're the exact same thing. Okay, I moved through those sections kind of fast, but is everything okay? Everyone doing okay?
Yeah.
Because that part is pretty straightforward. You're literally just either picking out the numbers or you just plug it in the numbers in your y equals mx plus b template. Okay? Now I'm going to take a little more time doing the next ones because we're actually graphing these guys. All right? Here we're doing the opposite. We're seeing the graph, and we got to come from the graph to getting my y equals mx plus b equation. Now, I want to remind you, b, we like to call b the beginning, right? So when we're getting the equation out from a graph line, we start at the beginning. In other words, we start by finding the b. And what is the b? The b is where the line crosses my y-axis. There's something very special about the fact that it's on the y-axis. If I'm right on the y-axis, that means I did not go right, I did not go left, I did not move at all with my Dixie numbers. So what is my x value when I'm on the y-axis?
0.
It's 0. Okay? So whenever x is 0, there it is. That's my b number, wherever I'm on the y-axis. So that's is it positive or negative 1? I'm going to zoom in for that one.
Positive 1.
That's a positive 1. So what we're going to do for these three, let's just find all three b numbers first. So we get some practice finding the b number. The b number for this one is a positive 1. What is the b value for this one? Here is my, it's kind of hard to see, but this is the x-axis here. And here's my y-axis here. And I count down, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, it is negative 5. So my b value for number 14 is negative 5. What is my b value for 15? My x-axis, I'm going to trace it because it's a little hard to see, but there it is. You went up 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've gotten half of our answer already. You're going to have y equals something x, and then for 13 you're going to have a plus 1. For 14 you're going to have y equals something x, and then minus 5. For 15 you're going to have y equals something x, and then plus 4. You with me? Now how do we get the m? The b was pretty easy. We started with the b. The m, yeah, it's our counting our stair steps. And what we learned last week about m is it's either going to go up and right or down and right. And he said it correctly. It's not up and right or down and left. It's always to the right. It's up and right if it's positive slope. It's down and right if it's negative slope. Okay? How do we know? Take a look at this one. Is it positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive, because going left to right, it's going uphill. Oh, what about this guy?
0.
That's neither positive or negative. It's 0. So you know what? We can fill that in. The m is 0. The equation for this is y equals 0x minus 5. And we can simplify it by writing what? Y equals minus 5. Either one of these answers is right. Okay? This one is at positive or negative slope?
Negative.
That's a negative slope. So I don't know what the number is yet, but I know it's negative. So for number 13, I'm going to be counting up and to the right. For number 15, I'm going to be counting down and to the right. Let's do number 13. Now I need to find some friendly points. I have one friendly point. It happens to be my y-intercept that I already found. I can go up the line to find where it crosses the crosshairs or the grid perfectly again. There's one, and then there's another one. Now remember, when we're finding slope, we're looking for two numbers. My up number and then my to the right number. So how many am I going up? I think Marcel said it. 2. My top number is 2. How many to the right?
1.
So I'm going up 2, 1 to the right. Up 2, 1 to the right. When I reduce that, what is 2 divided by 1?
2.
So my equation here is y equals 2x plus 1. Okay? And this one, same thing. I already found my b value a while ago. It was 4, so there's a good point there. I'm going to follow it down, and I found another one here and another one here. I just have to remember to count down and then to the right. How many down?
2.
Not 2 this time. 1 down, but then I go 2 to the right. 1 down and then 2 to the right. So this is negative a half. So this will be negative 1/2 x plus 4.